TikTok is destroying my generation's ability to critically think. And I'm going to explain what I mean in a second. But if you are new here, I would encourage you to click that subscribe button. I would encourage you to like this video, comment on this video, and do whatever you'd like if you find this content agreeable to you. Now, let's get into the topic. So, TikTok, my friends, has been a common topic of conversation in the political discourse. One of the most popular Twitter accounts is the Libs of TikTok, which exposes the everyday psychosis that comes out of some users on TikTok who subscribe to certain political beliefs. But also, TikTok is in ascendancy amongst Gen Z, my generation. Indeed, there was a UK survey that came out not too long ago that showed that between ages of 16 and 24, TikTok is actually consumed as a news source. And there was this article on Mashable that I saw recently, which basically affirmed the somewhat universality of this study, that a lot of people in my generation are using TikTok as a way to consume information. Not just news information, of course, but also cooking advice, travel advice, things of that sort. TikTok is becoming this sort of all-purpose tool for younger people to interface with the world. And while this is not necessarily a bad thing, because a tool can be used in a good way or a bad way, this has interesting implications, especially given TikTok's political status. Now, many people are skeptical of TikTok because it is owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance, and ByteDance and any other Chinese company are essentially beholden to the rules of the Chinese Communist Party. And of course, ByteDance for the longest time maintained that they were not sharing the data of Americans with the Communist Chinese Party. And in fact, President Joe Biden terminated a deal that President Trump started to essentially allow Walmart and Oracle to obtain TikTok under the justification that there is no security risk to Americans' data. Now, a report from BuzzFeed News kind of broke that lie into half and essentially exposed that Chinese employees of ByteDance did indeed access Americans' data in China, even though TikTok maintained that they did not. So, this is why a lot of people are concerned about TikTok, given its proximity as a potential propaganda tool for the Chinese Communist Party and their authoritarian desires. Now, this is a very interesting concern. It's also a very geopolitically sound concern, because after all, if people are getting information from a propaganda source, and we have people who are impressionable and young absorbing that information, we effectively have people being propagandized. All of that is well and good. But I wouldn't necessarily care if it was the Netherlands or the United States or Russia or whatever country propagandizing people through TikTok. The fact that it can be used for such purposes is itself concerning. But what is more concerning to me, my friends, is not the fact that a political entity can use TikTok to get their message across. No. What is concerning to me is what TikTok actually does to the wiring of the human brain. And this is why I maintain and assert that TikTok is a threat to critical thinking. My friends, TikTok simply cements the weakening of the mind that has been in ascendancy ever since the digital age has been ushered in. Indeed, Nicholas Carr, in his book, The Shallows, which is a great book that I encourage all of you to read. It's a well-researched book on the effects technology is having on people and many different spheres of society. He observes that the net has this ability to rewire our brain in a manner that inevitably affects our actions. And he actually says the following. I'll read from the book here. He says, the interactivity of the net amplifies this effect. Well, the effect of stimuli being used to influence us. Because we're often using our computers in a social context to to converse with friends or colleagues, to create profiles, to broadcast our thoughts, our social standing is in one way or another always in play, always at risk. The resulting self-consciousness, even at times fear, magnifies the intensity of our involvement with the medium. That's true for everyone, but it's particularly true for the young, who tend to be compulsive in using their phones and computers for texting and instant messaging. Today's teenagers typically send or receive a message every few minutes throughout their waking hours. As the psychotherapist Michael Hauser notes, Teens and young adults have a terrific interest in knowing what's going on in the lives of their peers, coupled with a terrific anxiety about being out of the loop. This is called FOMO, fear of missing out, which technology also heightens. There's another paragraph here that's very important. He says, one thing is very clear. If knowing what we know today about the brain's plasticity, you were to set out to invent a medium that would rewire our mental circuits as quickly and thoroughly as possible, you would probably end up designing something that looks and works a lot like the internet. It's not just that we tend to use the net regularly, even obsessively, it's that the net delivers precisely the kind of sensory and cognitive stimuli, repetitive, intensive, interactive, addictive, that has been shown to result in strong and rapid alterations in brain circuits and functions. With the exception of alphabet and number systems, the net may very well be the single most powerful mind-altering technology that has ever come into general use. And he goes on and points out several different things, such as how the net informs our daily processes, our daily routine, how skitting social media posts can activate our dopamine receptors. And here's the point. The brain, being this sort of plastic and malleable entity, can be geared towards certain kinds of actions, and it also can literally be changed in how it works. And he also points out that along with the net comes a shortening of attention span, because the net is essentially a curated experience for the user. You can get things on demand. You can also get rid of things on demand. And this shortening of attention span with the net inevitably impacts how we absorb information. Some of you may even notice that it's hard for you to maybe read a book or sit down and read a book because you may get jittery or you may not be able to concentrate for very long. And the net essentially enables us not to have to concentrate by giving us this deluge of information, this information overload. And when you do this, you are essentially manipulating the brain not to be focused, not to be task-oriented, but to follow all kind of different signs and areas. And my friends, the strength of the mind is essentially the source of human civilization's greatness. Great men are defined by their ability to use the mind and apply their mental faculties towards certain areas and then create something or do something with those areas. Think about the Wright brothers. Think about anyone who's ever invented anything or has ever done anything to advance the human race. Think about all of them. They've all had to use their mind. They went through grueling periods of self-doubt, but also grueling periods of work and study. Think of the greatest philosophers to ever exist. Think of the founding fathers who literally had to use all the mental power they did to A, establish a nation, and B, survive a war effort against the most powerful nation on the earth at that time, and C, keep everyone within the milieu of the founding satisfied, even though so many people up founding this country had differing beliefs. That takes mental willpower. That takes concentration. That takes a mind primed for long-term activities and long-term behaviors. But as Carr points out, the net is changing those mental activities, but also it's not just the net in general, it's certain mediums on the net, and this gets us to TikTok. If the net is manipulating the mind to have a shorter attention span and to be geared towards being able to produce something on demand as opposed to being able to stay with something for a very long time, then TikTok is the king of that behavior, since TikTok essentially thrives off of the 60-second scrolling sound bites that make people either laugh, cry, get them outraged, so they can just go on to the next one. It's like you consume a piece of content for like less than a minute, then you just go on like nothing ever happened. Or even if you don't even like the content, within the first few seconds, you can just click off. And how do you really engage and understand an idea, a concept, or a video, anything, by only looking at it for a few seconds? It is impossible. And yet, this is the kind of behavior that TikTok is producing in my generation. And this kind of behavior is antithetical to the requirements for human greatness, the requirements for understanding reality in its fullness. And all of those things, all of those activities that those things are required for are also essential for civilization. This may seem very haughty, this may seem very big brain, but this is not the case. The case is this, my friends: if you can't focus, you can't pursue greatness. If you can't focus, you can't complete tasks. And we have a crisis of focus, a culture of mass distraction, which really, it's been this way for a while. In the ancient times, you had gladiator fights, which were big distractions. You had peanut galleries, which were big distractions. Now it's trash TV. Now it's gossip. Now it's drama, and that is magnified through the media, which is also helped by the internet. Once again, we are up against forces, tools that we are not using entirely in intelligible ways, or at least my generation is not using in ways that benefit our individual progression. So, if these habits are contrary to the pursuit of greatness, the pursuit of completion, the pursuit of executing tasks, then we have to ask ourselves, are we really worried about China manipulating us? Or are we worried about approaching a time when we can't even tell if anyone is manipulating us or not, because we don't have the mental fortitude to focus and discern and parse out ideas, because we are just primed to deal with things in 60-second increments. That is a bigger national security threat than China ever could be. Because whereas China is a threat that exists in the political realm, what I just described to you, the 60-second mind, is a threat that exists in the private realm and can indeed be a universal curse on all of us if we don't create our habits towards proper functioning attention spans. And this is the danger of TikTok. It encourages, enables, and facilitates man's descent into a period where he does not engage, into a period of non-engagement. And we have to push back against that. How do we do that? Do more things like this. Read more books. Talk to people outside of the digital interface. The digital interface is good, my friends. I am happy I have it because I can talk to all of you. I can spread my message, but still, if I just talked to you and I didn't do anything else, my work would be useless. I have to talk to you and spread the message in different arenas. On the internet, with people, with my friends, with everybody. That's what we have to do. And really, to combat a loss of attention span, which is really the subject of this video, you've got to read. You've got to sit yourself down and discipline yourself to do something for a sustained period of time without breaking that concentration. Because once again, if the mind has deteriorated, the body will soon follow. And if your mind and your body are both deteriorated, how in the world can you engage in society? How in the world can you engage in politics? How in the world can anyone, anything, much less civilization, have a future? We can't. And that's the real threat. And that is what we have to confront. My friends, think about what I've said. I love you guys so much. If you love me, please be sure to support me. Please be sure to go to my Patreon, patreon.com/PhilCWatson, or my PayPal, officialcwatson@gmail.com. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, share this video, tell me why I'm wrong or why I'm right, however you feel. My friends, I love you guys so much, and please stay pensive. Bye, guys.